Well, I would love to take a moment and give a lot of special thank yous. You know, this is a really big event that we have, our women's small group, but as you can see, it's big. And we have a massive team, and because we cannot do it alone. So
Absolutely.
first of all, I want to thank our media team, who you hardly see, but we have a couple gentlemen back there. We have ladies in the back in the green room. They're the ones that assemble the slides for us, get us beautiful pictures on the screen, and record all this. So thank you guys for all your hard work.
Yes.
They're here in the mornings and the evenings, you guys.
Right.
We also have an amazing volunteer team. We have ladies that come in before our season even starts, and they assemble the binders. They help get the centerpieces ready. We have ladies that come in and set up the tables. We have ladies who greet and break down and clean up and just all the things in between. So thank you so much, because you guys are really a huge, huge help for me. Thank you, truly. And I'd love to thank our table leaders.
Yes.
You guys are so special to us, and thank you.
Stare at them right now.
You lead your tables well, and we just hear such amazing things about you guys, so thank you so much.
Yep.
And I would love to thank you, Tanya.
And I want to thank you, Angela.
Thank
This is such a love fest.
Guys,
in here.
I get the privilege of working alongside Tanya, and I want to say I get to see the passion and devotion that she puts into her weekly messages, and it does not go unseen, and it's amazing what you do.
Thank you.
I feel honored to work alongside you, and I just hear the amazing things and the way that you touch other people's life through your messages. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
if we could
you.
give Tanya a round of applause.
Yeah.
You're special.
And how about Angela leading the way last week, and Whitney? So fun, right?
Thank you. That was so fun.
I got to hear them in the morning, so I was here in the morning, so it was so fun for me. And then I was over with the Missouri City group, y'all, and they have such a great group going on over there.
They do.
Yeah, it's going
so
great.
Fun.
It's going great. So partners all around the world. That's
right.
what we're doing here.
I'm gonna sneak
All right,
off
we
now.
ready? All right, sneaking out here. Are you ready? It's our last week. That's always like so bittersweet for everybody, but I know you have stuff going on in the spring. So why don't we start tonight with a little sheep trivia. I know you met Shrek last week, Angela's crazy sheep. So first will be a little quiz. Here we go. A female sheep is called a, very nice. A male sheep is called a, okay, y'all, why are y'all nervous? There's no grade. Let's try it again. A female sheep is called a, okay, a male sheep is called a, yeah, a ram in the bush. And this one, I double dog dare you on. A neutered male, as if you should know that. A neutered male sheep is called a, heads up, it's a wether. I know, that's the strangest thing ever. W-E-T-H-E-R. Now you can stump somebody when it comes up, all right? The other thing I wanted to talk to you about sheep is sheep are so amazing. They have a lot of feels going on, and they also show expression on their face if they're happy, sad, or check this guy out. Oh, my heart. Do you just love, I don't know if it's a he or a she, but they're curious creatures as well. I just love that they have feelings and they have expressions. We'll learn more about that in just a minute. And then a group of sheep is called a, let's hear one, a flock. Yes, what else could they be called? A herd. And this is so crazy, you guys. They call them a mob. I think that's so funny. It's kind of like, you know, when we're referred to as sheep, we are like a little bit of a mob out here. Anyway, so the last thing about sheep, and this will be our closing thing, is I want you to see something that the shepherds in Wales did in partnership with Samsung, and you're going to be so intrigued by this. So watch it.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Well, that's better. That's better. That's better. That's more like it now.
Stand there.
The runaway. Shut up. Is that amazing? That's the best ever.
sure some of them pong, but...
Right, I'm aiming for that snake over there, yeah? Stay there.
Good. There are two in front of you, and move those to the right.
Well, let's go on there. This one here.
Everybody stop there. Don't move. Start on the next page. Yes, that's better. That's good. That's good. Looking good.
You know? Oh my goodness. The Mona Lisa made out of sheep.
Away. Let's get away. Let's get away. That's it.
Isn't that great? Who knew? So, I don't know, Welsh shepherds have too much time on their hands. I don't know. It's getting really creative out there in the fields with all of their flocks or mobs. That would be a mob, I think. Those are mobs of sheep. Isn't that amazing? So much fun with sheep. I will miss this part of our time together. I'll say this. So I'm in your notes, but last week I loved how Angela and Whitney did such a great job of presenting the table, such a great picture. And I want to wrap that up by taking us back to David's life. And he actually has a table story himself that we're going to talk about. And ironically, David's very best friend, and he was kind of an atypical male. He had a really intimate, close friend. But during that whole time that he was running for his life from Saul, it was a man named Jonathan who was actually Saul's son. So go figure that. But they'd stood by each other through battle after battle. They'd pledged their loyalty to each other. The sad thing about this is that Jonathan was killed in battle at the same time as his father Saul. But David and Jonathan, they had promised long before that they'd look after each other's families if anything would happen to them. Well, later, David would actually find out that Jonathan had a son that he didn't know anything about. So we're going to pick the story up there. Here we go. We're in 2 Samuel chapter 4. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son. Stay with me here. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul, his grandfather, and Jonathan, his dad, came from Jezreel. His nurse picked him up and fled. But as she hurried to leave, he fell and became crippled. His name was Mephibosheth. That will be the last time that I say that name. From now on, he will be called M for the rest of the story. So M had a life of really a lot of hardship and suffering. When he's only 5, he became an orphan. Not only that, he had really every reason to believe that he was the king's enemy and that he'd be the next one killed, because the usual practice at that time in the Middle East was the new heir to the throne would take the entire family, this is really terrible, but would take the entire family of the displaced king, the old king, and have them put to death to eliminate the possibility of any future opposition or rebellion. So M really had lived his whole life in fear and hiding. We'll pick up the story in chapter 9, verse 1. David asked, "Is anyone still left in Saul's family? I want to show kindness to that person for Jonathan's sake." Remember, Jonathan, his best friend. Now, there was a servant named Ziba from Saul's family. So David's servants called Ziba to him. King David said, "Are you Ziba?" He answered, "Yes, I am your servant." The king asked, "Is anyone left in Saul's family? I want to show God's kindness to that person." Ziba answered the king, "Jonathan has a son still living who's crippled in both feet. The king asked Ziba, well, where is this son? Ziba answered, he's at the house of Machir, the son of Amiel in Lo-debar. I won't say that again either. Then King David had servants bring Jonathan's son from the house of Machir, I guess I'll say it again, son of Amiel in Lo-debar. Verse 6, Jonathan's son, came before David and bowed face down on the floor. And David said, said, I am your servant. And David said to him, don't be afraid. I'm going to be kind to you because of your father Jonathan's sake. I'll give you back all the land. I just want you to think about this. I will give you back all the land of your grandfather Saul, who was the king, who had so much land. And, underline this in your notes, you will always eat at my table. Bowed to David again and said, you're being very kind to me, your servant. Am I no better than a dead dog? So sad, y'all. Then King David, Saul's servant Ziba, David said to him, I've given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You, your sons, and your servants will farm the land and harvest the crops. Then your family will have food to eat. But your master's grandson, underline it again, will always eat at my table. Now, big families going on here. Now, Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. A lot of servants to go with that. Ziba said to King David, I, your servant, will do everything my master the king commands me. So underline it again, ate at David's table as if he were one of the king's sons. Circle it. Had a young son named Micah. Everyone in Ziba's family became M's servants. Lived in Jerusalem because he always what? Why is this on repeat? Ate at the king's table, and he was crippled in both feet. So especially in the scripture, you guys, when you see something repeated over and over and over again, there's a reason for that. There's no coincidence about that. You have to pay attention to it. So a couple things here about David. In this case, y'all, David, he's a man of his word. He kept his promise. And I want you to think, this is so cool. Think of the picture painted here. David seeks out who's marked by his grandfather Saul's sin. But he invites him in, and he literally adopts him as his son. You're with me, aren't you? He even invites him to fellowship with him at his table. So he completely restored his dignity. And this is just another amazing example of what we've seen of what's called foreshadowing in the Bible. It's this perfect picture of what God did for us. Because we were marked by the sin that entered through who? Through Adam and Eve. God sought us out. He invited us in. When we accepted his invitation, he also invited us to commune with him at his table. He gave us a permanent seat or place in the family. And now, ongoing, he freely shares all his riches with us. This is amazing, isn't it? This is what the Old Testament does, you guys. It points to Jesus. The Old Testament is always pointing to Jesus. Now, in light of all of this, can you even imagine not showing up for dinner at the king's table? Can you even imagine? That's almost like an absurd thought. So I don't know if you noticed, you got an invitation to a party for Carrie Underwood. She has a new album coming out, and it's at the Grand Ole Opry. It's on your table. It's an invitation there. So let's say that happened in real life. Did some of y'all wonder about that? So sorry. I'm sorry. I know. There's no money in the tote bag, and we're not going to Carrie Underwood's party. But can you imagine? Let's say that's real life. Like this week in your snail mail, you opened up an envelope, a beautiful envelope with this purple invitation. It said, hey, it's Carrie. I want you to come to dinner at the Grand Ole Opry. I'm releasing a new album. What are you going to do? Are you going to put that in that stack of that mail? No, you're going to go, what in the world? I got to do what? RSVP. I got to make a plan. Oh, my goodness, she's paying for my flight, all the airfare, I get first class, all the things. I'm going to eat at her table with her, go to the party. I got to find something to wear. I got to clear my calendar to go. Can you even imagine yourself going, I'll get to that later. I don't have time for that. Or can you even imagine yourself RSVPing yes And then, oh, I got busy. I can't, I'm not going to go. No, it's the absurdity of the whole thing. And I'm back in your notes. But I just think that many of us, you guys, we've accepted that initial invitation from Jesus. But we're just not showing up to the party to commune at the table with him. I know that's me. And I have to tell you, though, some of the most profound things in my personal life have happened around the table. It's one of my favorite places. It's a place where like the material and the sacred come together. And there's just an intimacy when we share a meal together, because there's a physical nourishing that goes on, and then there's also a nourishing of the soul when we engage with one another around the table. And Jesus wants us to come to this table and sit with him, to share our stories, the stories of love and loss and joy and all the things, to ask hard questions, to weep over the people we care about. And I've told some of you this before, but it's not unusual for me to make a cup of tea and make a second cup of tea and put another tea bag in it and go sit at the table with him, a cup of tea across from me, and just have a conversation like I'd be having with you right now. And I'm going to challenge you guys over the break until we get back together again to do that. Would you try that? If you're not a tea drinker, pour coffee. Or have a Coke with Jesus. I don't know, whatever it is, your drink of choice. I could go on with that, but I won't. All right. So we're going to wrap up the 23rd Psalm here with verse 6, and it just ends on a huge high note here. So Psalm 23:6 says this: surely your goodness and love, some translations say mercy, will follow me, underline that word, all the days of my life. And I will dwell, underline that word, in the house of the Lord forever. So, I love words. Let's start with some word definitions here to help us out. So the word goodness, right, your goodness and love, the word goodness carries the idea of your benefit or your good welfare will follow me. And love and loving kindness, and like I said, some translations say mercy, carries the idea of God's faithful kindness. So your benefit, your good, your welfare, your faithful kindness. And then finally, the word follow, this is so incredible, means to attend to or to pursue closely. So God's goodness, welfare, and loving kindness, they're always closely pursuing us. And I don't know if you've ever had someone pursue you, but it carries the idea of someone like chasing after you, right? They're coming after you. They're close by. They're headed for you. Several years ago, I think I've shown you a picture of my Saboya dog I've had before. I don't know if I've shown you a picture of Sadie. This is Sadie. I had this little Shih Tzu. I don't know why they had to give him such a dreadful name. But anyway, it's a little Shih Tzu. And I have to tell you, Shih Tzus, they're very loyal. And this little dog, wherever I go, you go. Like wherever I went, this dog, it's just right here, right behind me all the time. I don't know how many times I stepped on that dog. And she never got over. She just kept following closely behind me. But the picture here is of God, stay with me here, of God's goodness and mercy and loving kindness always being right here, like Sadie, at our heels, right there behind us, always pursuing us, close behind us. Literally underline it in your notes, chasing after us. So that begs the question, doesn't it? Why do I seem to miss or be so unaware of that in my life throughout the day, throughout the week? Why do I miss that? It's right there chasing me. Well, for me, it's because I'm often just distracted by all these other voices that are chasing after my attention, typically right up here in my old head. But I really, really love this picture. It's in the New Testament of how our shepherd protects us from that. So it's in the book of John, chapter 10. This may be familiar, but it may not be familiar in this context. So here we go. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter by the door into the fold of the sheep or the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, he's a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. If you can see that picture, there's all kinds of sheep in there, lots of sheep. Several shepherds have their sheep in there, but this shepherd calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. When he puts forth all his own, he goes ahead of them, he leads them out, and the sheep will follow him because they, underline it, know his voice. A stranger, they simply won't follow, but they'll flee from him because they what? Underline it, don't know the voice of strangers. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, or know my voice. So the warning here for me is just to beware and be careful of the voices going on in my own head. They're sneaky, or Angela called them pesky last week. And also be aware at the same time of the shepherd's protection and his voice. Now, in Jesus' day, if they were out in the countryside, out there in the countryside, the shepherd's pen would have like piles of rocks to kind of hem them in. There's no physical gate there. There's no real door. So the shepherd would actually sleep across the opening, the shepherd would actually become the door. I actually experienced what this would be like in Haiti. I was on a mission trip there, and I was in a really, really dangerous area, so they gave me a bodyguard. And so the room I was staying in, it had like a little lock on it, but it was one of those little like metal things that have the hook on it. It's like it goes in. It's not not good, right? Like I could push the door open myself. Like if the bad guy was coming in, it was easy for him to do. So this bodyguard I had, so he told me what he was going to do. He said, so I'm just going to sleep right here across the door. That is the strangest thing ever. And so he laid outside my door, right there across the threshold. And he said, so if you just hear my voice, you're just going to know I'm right here. And if I tell you to do something, you're going to do whatever I tell you to do. I'm like, you have total trust with this dude laying across the door, right? But that's what the shepherd would do. He'd lay right there. In the city, I'm back in your notes, in the city, the sheep actually had, there was an actual gate that the shepherd could open and close. But the sheep, his own sheep, would only follow his voice out to the pasture. So studies have shown that sheep will actually follow and respond to their shepherd's voice, even in the presence of other people and distractions going on. So when a shepherd would go to call his flock, the sheep would go, up, look up and go, up, I hear it, there's my shepherd, up, there he goes, here I go with him. That's what they did. I love this. And here's what I want you to underline, highlight, over and over, star in your notes. Because here's the thing. The more time you and I spend with the shepherd, the more readily we're going to recognize his voice over all the others. I'm going to say it again. The more time that we spend with the shepherd, the more readily we're going to recognize his voice over all those other voices that are vying for our attention, either outwardly, coming in through our eyes, coming in through our ears, coming in through other people, or the crazy voices in our own heads. Now, the psalm closes, you guys, looking ahead to living in our forever home. It says we're going to dwell or reside in the house of the Lord forever. Now, to dwell, such a cool word too. It means to sit or to stay or to inhabit. It's kind of like when you go home and you get in your favorite chair, or that little niche on your couch, it envelops you. It means to just dwell there, to sit in it. But we just saw how we can also dwell with the Lord right now through prayer and worship and through the word and through communing with one another by sitting at the table with him. But at the same time, we can also anticipate and long for dwelling with him in eternity. So it's now and it's then. And you're going to get to talk about that in your groups. I can't wait for you to talk about heaven in your groups today. But as we head into the summer, I just want to encourage you to take your seat at the table, to eat all the things, to drink from the overflowing cup, to push out, you guys, the enemy's lies that want to worm their way into your head, and let the shepherd anoint you with his oil. And as you travel over the next few days and weeks and months, I want to encourage you to go ahead and embrace those valleys rather than try and fight your way out. Because there's always more to the story, even in the shadows that are there. and on the other side of the mountain. Because here's the deal. Back in verse 3 of Psalm 23, where David wrote, stay with me here, he leads me on, underline this word, paths, remember we talked about this, of righteousness, and we said that literally means right wiseness. He leads me on paths of right wideness. The word path in the Hebrew language literally means circles. He leads me in circles. And I know sometimes we feel like we're going in circles. But the amazing thing about this is that shepherds had to lead sheep up and down the mountains in circles. I have a picture of it. It's on your card. It's up here on the screen. They couldn't go straight up and down. It would have killed the sheep. They couldn't handle just going straight up or straight down. It would have been too hard on them. And those circles, they'd become like little ledges on the mountains. And while these paths, it could have been formed by one shepherd over time, it's more likely, this is such a cool picture, that they were formed by other shepherds who'd gone before, like generations of shepherds wisely walking these same paths. Such a picture. And you can literally go to the hills in Israel and see the paths there. That's what this is a picture of them walking those sheep through for generations. And this is the legacy that we can leave you, guys, for our friends, for our families, for our neighborhoods, for our whole country, for our world. This is what we can do. And I just love this picture of you and me on our individual circuitous routes, following our shepherd to those green pastures, with him doing all the navigating along the way, lacking not one thing, lacking nothing. And there it is, like with goodness and mercy and loving kindness right at our heels, just like Sadie, as we all travel to our forever home. I think it's an incredible picture. What I know is you are never going to look at Psalm 23 the same. You're never going to hear it read the same. Hasn't it been amazing? We have spent 7 weeks in the same psalm. And I hope what you come away with, too, is how rich and beautiful the scripture is, and that you just fall more and more in love with it. So y'all have a good time in your groups, and then we'll wrap it up with some fun things. Love y'all. All righty. I hope y'all had a good discussion. What I'd love for us to do, though, is stand together, pull out your Psalm 23. Of course, I know all of you have it memorized, but just in case you need it, pull that out of your notebook. And we're going to read it together. Feels good to stand up, huh? All righty, are we ready? Here we go. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Let me pray a blessing over you. God, each woman here came into this small group session with something going on, and I pray that over this season that they've been able to trust you. I pray going forward that whatever that thing is, that they could offer it right up to you right now tonight in this room as we pray. I pray great blessings over them as we move into spring and we move into the rhythms of summer, over their families, over their friendships, over their work relationships. And God, we're so grateful that we've been invited to the table. I just can't fully wrap my head around it, but we're so humbled and grateful to be there. Thank you for your great blessing in Jesus' name. Amen. We'll see y'all soon.